An NBA insider just revealed a massive Celtics trade update on Anfernee Simons. Today, we look at the latest news and rumors on Simons and trade packages as well. We'll get you all the latest updates right here on Celtics Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning into the show. Obviously, a new face on this channel. Appreciate you joining in. I've been a lifelong Celtics fan. I am really excited for this season. I understand that Jayson Tatum is down, and that stinks, but I'll tell you what, JT might be down, but Celtics Digest is up. So if you're new, if you're joining us for the first time, hit that subscribe button, and we're going to have a bunch of cool things coming up, shorts, videos, hopefully some live streams in the season as well, so make sure you're tuned in for all of that. Let's go into today's topic, and it is a key update on Anfernee Simons, as an NBA insider has revealed some details that I believe should be shared across the interwebs here. And what the first thing we have to start with is what the Celtics plan has been all along. We know that since winning the championship back in a couple years ago, and then now this past year, Jayson Tatum getting injured, and you can say what you will about whether the Celtics would have been able to come back had he not been injured or not, but they have been shedding salaries, and we know that from the trade of Kristaps Porziņģis and getting him off the roster, getting Georges Niang back, and the trade of Jrue Holiday, which in this instance, you got Anfernee Simons back. Now, in terms of the Kristaps Porziņģis trade, Georges Niang has already been shipped off to Utah, and they got a couple picks back, plus a two-way player. Would the Celtics be interested in also trading off Anfernee Simons? That is probably a big detail because the Celtics, by all accounts, are trying to get under that first apron. And while they're kind of right there, an Anfernee Simons trade would be necessary for the Celtics to get under that threshold. So let's kind of go to an article here and talk about the prerequisites of all of this. We start here with Alex Kirschbaum of Celtics Sports Illustrated saying, quote, Stevens traded away starters Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porziņģis. He lets center Luke Kornet exit in free agency and likely will allow key free agent reserve, power forward / center Al Forward to similarly leave. He also cut point guard J.D. Davidson and signed free agents Chris Boucher, Luke Garza, and Josh Wynot to veteran minimum contracts, end quote. This is all part of the plan. If you've been following the Celtics for more than a year at this point, you understand that the second apron was put in place. The CBA is there, and whether you like it or not, it was something the Celtics had to be aware of and understand that, yes, at this current time, they were willing to go above that second apron, and they won the championship because of going above that second apron. And then this past year, they said, you know what? We're going to try and go back-to-back. We're going to try and do it for the first time since the Warriors did it. And unfortunately, I believe that if Jayson Tatum wasn't injured, there's a lot of different things that could have happened. And just my opinion, I think the Celtics were a better team in their championship season than the Oklahoma City Thunder in their championship season this year. But that's besides the point in this. Either way, this was the plan all along, to try and go back-to-back, and then now it was going to be a big overhaul, especially when Jayson Tatum got injured. It was obvious the Celtics' main objective was to cut costs to get under that threshold and kind of use this as a little bit of a rebuild year. Now, obviously, you're not going to rebuild totally because you have Jaylen Brown and you're going to get Jayson Tatum back, hopefully at some point in the latter part of this season, but just as kind of managing expectations of myself, I'm just going to expect he's not going to play this entire season. But either way, you already got rid of Georges Niang. Is Anfernee Simons' trade on the horizon? Well, that's something to talk about and something that was mentioned in this article, because if you look at the stats here for Anfernee Simons, they're not bad. They're pretty good, actually. Almost 20 points per game. However, he played in nearly 33 minutes. He's 26 years old, but the big thing to me, he doesn't fit the Celtics roster at all. He, first of all, does not play a good defensive position. And in the way that Coach Joe Mazzulla coaches, and somewhat the way the coaches of the Celtics have always been, if you want to go to Ime Udoka or Brad Stevens, it's always been a very defensive mindset. You talk about the guys like Marcus Smart that have come through here and really shown how defensively this team can be. Anfernee Simons does not bring any of that. And so in that situation, how does the Celtics and Anfernee Simons work? Well, the offensive caliber is there, and in some ways, through this first part of the season, you don't know what this team is going to look like. It seems like Peyton Pritchard will take that starting point guard role over Simons, and in that case scenario, I'm 100% saying, all right, goodbye to Anfernee Simons. So what exactly is the latest news or updates on that? Well, Here is kind of a little bit of an update from Alex Kirschbaum of Celtics XI, and then we're going to get the insider as well. Quote, the Celtics already managed to ditch the contracts of return packages they received for Porziņģis, Stretch 4, Georges Niang, and a second-round draft pick, plus an additional second round of the Utah Jazz in exchange for a two-way rookie wing, R.J. Lewis Jr. Can Boston do it again with Simons? Here is the kind of update from the NBA insider Jake Fisher. He's the NBA insider for Bleacher Report. He says, quote, the Celtics, to my understanding, are going to continue to look for salary-shedding options, and they are going to continue to listen to incoming trade calls for Anfernee Simons. Okay, so they're listening to trade calls. It seems like they're getting a decent amount, and obviously we have seen a couple of different let's say, trade calls. Now, given that Simons, at such a young age, has spent a decent amount of time in the NBA. I mean, you look at his seasons going into what is now his, I believe, 8th year, and averaging the points that he averaged over the past 4 or 5 seasons now, 17, 21, 22, and then 19 this past year, you'd probably expect a decent trade package, but the problem behind it is that other teams across the NBA understand at what position the Celtics are in, that they are trying to trade him. So they might not be willing right off the bat to give you a decent trade package. So let's go look at a couple of packages that I think would be really, really good. Now, the first one is the one that I think would be interesting just because it brings back a former Boston Celtic, gets him back in the green and white. Terry Rozier for Anfernee Simons and a second-round pick swap for the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. And this doesn't really pose a benefit to either side in some ways. However, it gets the Celtics under that first apron. It allows them to, have back a player who I really liked when Terry Rozier was here in Boston. I thought it was a very fun time. Obviously, he was a part of that early, the kind of start of all this for the Celtics, and 7 years back when they were starting to become the Celtics that, back in yesteryear, the way they were always, winning all the time. And I would love to have Rozier back. Obviously, again, it's really not going to improve the team at all, but it definitely would be something that would be an interesting storyline. And there is a point of emphasis in how are the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics are the Celtics. They're going to sell tickets. But, without Jayson Tatum, something to have a little bit of a media buzz with Terry Rozier coming back would also be very good as well. Now, the second trade is definitely way better. I think this would actually be a pretty dang good swap here. The Jazz would get Anfernee Simons, and the Celtics would receive Jusuf Nurkic, which he was actually a Trailblazer at one time, and I think can still kind of regain some of his all-NBA level talent. It hasn't been the past couple years, but I still believe that it's in there. Plus, the bigger thing around this is the Celtics are also getting a first-round pick that is from the Los Angeles Lakers in 2027 and a 2029 second-round pick from the Utah Jazz, which, by all accounts of the Utah Jazz, they are not going to be good anytime soon. The Celtics and Jazz have already made a trade. Obviously, Danny Ainge over there in Utah, that's a guy that we know and we've talked to, so it would be a trade that would work out because of the already, knowledgeability between the two sides. I don't know how that would totally benefit the Jazz besides the point of them getting a younger guard, and obviously, the trades they've had to make this offseason and kind of getting rid of some of their players and some of their stars. I know that they got Keontae George over there kind of trying to get into a good spot. So as of right now, we kind of look at this and try and see what the best option is. I think that is a very good trade option, but is it likely that the Celtics are going to move Anfernee Simons at all? Well, that's where we get the final piece of news from Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report. He says, quote, that's not to sit here and say that Anfernee Simons is definitely going to get traded, but we're still expecting there to be a possibility of Anfernee Simons being traded as well, end quote. So with that point being made, I think it's interesting to put out there that just because the Celtics are right now maybe holding on to him, and maybe they do in the season, I could see him still being moved at the trade deadline or sometime in the season. Obviously, that wouldn't exactly work for the first apron because it locks in, but it would still allow you to cut some budget costs for the year next, and you're also going to have a ability to have a reliable trade asset. I mean, Anfernee Simons, as much as I want to sit here and say he doesn't work for the Celtics, he still could work in the NBA. I just don't think it's for the Boston Celtics, and especially in the way they've built their team. That's where it leads me to the final question of the show, and it's for you guys. Do you think Anfernee Simons will be traded, / do you want him to be traded? I want you to let me know down in the comment section. Is this something that you find interesting, / is this something that would be intriguing to you? Obviously, bringing Terry Rozier back to Boston, in my opinion, would be a very fun thing to see, but obviously, it's not up to me. It's up to Brad Stevens, who I would argue is one of, if not the best GM in all of NBA basketball. So I trust him to make the right move and to see exactly what is best fit for the Boston Celtics. We appreciate you watching again. Really excited to be on this channel. Really excited to get this going, and a bunch of stuff coming. Shorts, live streams, videos. Got a lot of stuff here on, so make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, especially if you've made it to the end of the video. And we'll see you next time here on Celtics Digest. Peace out, guys.